Welcome back to another episode of the Decision Hour. I'm your host, Adam Bird. Got a question for y'all. How many of us want that formula that's going to help unlock financial clarity? Today's guest, he's a seasoned entrepreneur who has launched and grown over 70 companies from zero to $100+ million throughout the past 25+ years. He's authored a dozen books, and he's well known for building multiple companies from the ground up, many to which have reached 7, 8, even 9 figures in valuations. He's transforming the retirement landscape with his groundbreaking retirement plan system, which we're going to talk about a little bit today. And something that I found very interesting as well is he's revolutionized the construction industry through his pioneering work with his company called Frametec. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Damion Lupo. Did I say that right?
You did, Adam. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
All right. I appreciate it. So we were talking a little bit offline, and I really, really like your story. So let's just dive into it. Tell my listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I think the intro was it sounds like somebody that's really tired from all that stuff. Like it's, 25 years, God, starting all these companies and truly it's what I was wired to do. When I was 11, I started a business because my parents told me we were broke and we couldn't afford video games. And so I said, well, that doesn't really work for me.
Yeah.
At 11, I was like, I'm going to solve this. Entrepreneurs can't help themselves. We have to go out and build businesses. So I built a business to buy and sell Nintendo games so I could play the games. And it turned into a wholesale retail business that I hired my parents to drive me around to operate. And it just really kept going from there. I tried to go to college. When I say I try, I hate the word try, but I went and I failed. And so I didn't really try. I went and failed because they threw me out. I started a bookstore in the dorm room and they said, you can't do that. You're putting the bookstore on campus out of business. And that's bad because we need to have paper and pencils available. And I said, well, yeah, but they're screwing out all the students. And I don't like when centralized control systems hurt people because of monopolies. You see it in finance, you see it in retirement spaces, you see it in the books. I mean, Amazon disrupted that whole system.
Yeah.
And so I can't help myself. I have to go in and find, when I started doing real estate back in the late 90s, and literally December 31st, 1999 was my first house that I bought on a credit card. I did that and I started doing things that were unconventional. I wasn't buying them using banks. I was buying them using creative financing. And it was basically me saying, okay, there are people that want to buy houses. There are people that want to sell houses, and none of them can get the thing done in the conventional system. So as an entrepreneur, I went in there and said, all right, I'm going to go learn from people that know how to do this. And then I'm going to go build a business around solving problems. So that's really what it's been for decades and what it continues to be. And as you do those enough, you do enough of these iterations, more businesses, if you're smart enough to learn from all the dumb things you do,
Yeah.
you get to a place where your context, who you are,
Yeah.
shifts and grows enough. And then you're able to do things that have the potential of being billion-dollar things, which is what Frametec is becoming.
Yes. Let's dive into Frametec. That's a great transition, I think. What is it?
So Frametec is the future of framing in America and probably the world. 92% of framing for houses and apartments is done with wood studs.
Right.
It's a renewable resource.
Right.
And so what we did is we have a technology that allows us to take the entire process from the design. Somebody gives us a design for a house, and 2 weeks later they have a framed house that we do everything. And so instead of that taking months, being unpredictable, we do it in 80% of less time. And so it's 4 times faster.
Wait a minute. Let me back up here, because I've worked on construction crews in the housing industry before, and it is a kick in the crotch. You know what I'm talking about, because it's like you're sitting there, you're like frame, and you're just like, you spend literally months and months, and depending on how big the house is, down in Arizona, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, sometimes years, getting stuff done rightly, hanging the trusses, all that other stuff. You're telling me there's a faster way to do it?
I'm not telling you there's a faster way. I'm telling you there's a disruptive, exponentially faster way. So an apartment, I'll give you an example. This is crazy. An apartment that normally takes 10 months to frame,
Yeah.
we will do in 2 months from the time we get plans. So it shaves off literally 80% of the time. And it's not only the time, because we're building all the components, the floor trusses, the walls, the roof trusses, we're building them in a plant. Custom. These are all, whatever the plans call for. We're doing it in a plant, so our controls our tolerances are so much tighter. We're talking like 1/16th to 1/32nd of an inch, maybe tighter for everything. So instead of your boards being wavy and twisted, every stud is going to be 16 on center. It's going to be consistent. You're going to have lines snapped for the plumbers. Like literally everything that is a problem in construction, we're fixing and because it starts with the framing. If you get the framing right, everybody else is happy. And nobody's done this because quite frankly, everybody's making money in framing, so they don't have to innovate. We're completely disrupting the system, and it gets better. Not only are we doing it faster, but if you look at a normal house, you've seen these, everybody's seen these. There's dumpsters full of your money, which is the wood that is cut. And guess what we're doing? Instead of 3 40-yard dumpsters full of wood, we cut that down by 99%. There's virtually no waste because of our patented technology where we're joining all our wood together. You can come to Arizona and see the plant. It's incredible when you take it down to 1% of normal in terms of, it's basically sawdust. That's the only thing that we pretty much have left, except maybe some corner cuts.
So what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is that you get plans, you get the blueprints from the builder or from the whomever, and are you doing like pre-cuts there at your place? And so when you get to the job site, it's almost like putting the puzzle together?
It's better than that. So we get the plans, somebody hands us the plans, and 2 weeks later they have a framed structure because we build everything in our plant and then our team brings it out. The problem is we're trying to coordinate people that are assembling, framers, and everything else. We just brought it all in-house. We're vertically integrated. The entire process we own. So we can say on this date, you're going to have a house framed. And the builder then says, great, all my subs, the plumbers, the electricians, everybody else can line up right behind that, which is like, it's a dream because it's never happened before in history. And we're doing that here in Arizona with our first 2 plants.
There's a part of me that wants to say, so there's a company out there that knows what a 90-degree is. When it comes
Yeah, there's at least one.
when it comes to building. And those of you that have never built a house before, particularly in the valley, I've built a house. I've built several houses in and around the valley area, and I have not seen a 90-degree anywhere in a house.
Well, and it gets covered up by drywall and things,
Right.
and really people on site, they're just trying to get that thing done as fast as possible. Right. There's the craftsmanship has really faded, and people are they're throwing things together too fast. And this is faster, but it's also better. So it's literally 99 times better with the amount of waste. And so waste is what's cool about the waste thing, Adam, is that not only is it good for the environment, we're not cutting down an extra forest for your house,
right,
but think about all the money that's saved. And so, and we also have the ability, because of our finger joining system, which is patented, it's patented technology. Because we're using that, we can take any size board, 6, 8, 10 foot. We don't have to buy 14-foot boards for a 12-foot stud. We can literally buy 6 foot, whatever the best value is, or the overages at these different mills. We can buy that stuff. And so we have a strategic advantage over everybody else building. So you can imagine that funnels down to additional revenue, additional profit, just because we can buy better.
Damion, how long have you been doing this?
So 2 years ago, actually for 30 years, this has been an idea in our patriarch's head. And we met with him a few years ago, and actually it was just over two years ago. We got the deal 3 years ago and we ignored it. We were looking at it. We're like, yeah, we're too busy. And so finally we looked at it and we said, there's got to be something. Because look, I've done a ton of businesses. I've invested in a ton of things, and I'm talking like hundreds of things over the last 25 years. So most things are bull. They're if it looks too good, it probably is. Most people don't have any experience. And so I pass on everything virtually. And that's the difference between successful and uber successful people. Uber successful say no to almost everything. So I said no. And finally I said, I want to meet these guys. So my partner and I flew out to Arizona when I was living in Alabama 2.5 years ago. And we sat down with these guys and we said, all right, we want to know who you guys are. This deal seems too good to be true. And then we realized it wasn't too good to be true. It just needed a whole lot of money. So it turned out it needed about $65 million. And we said, you know what? We like this deal, but we really like you. And because it's you guys, we're in. We'll bring the money. And that's so it started. And they said, thank you. And you guys are full of crap. There's no way you're bringing money. And we started funding it like literally within a couple of weeks. And so that was just over 2 years ago that we started this. And our first plant, 111,000 square feet, is coming online this summer. And the second one is right behind that in south of Phoenix. So we'll have 2 plants covering 95% of Arizona. And then each of the plants, we have expansion plans in Texas and the Carolinas and Florida. So this is going to disrupt the entire industry.
This is freaking awesome. Like, I'm
so it's pretty awesome
right now. Like this is freaking great. For those that are listening to this right now about the Frametec, What's the website they can go check this out?
It's frametec.com. It's funny. There's another company that does wood or metal studs of some sort, and it's like Frametech TECH. So you're going to go to frametec.com. You'll see our project in Arizona. You'll see videos of Marvin, a little draw shop whiteboard, which is really cool. And so you can check it out. And what's happening, what's really cool about this, when we said we'll bring you the money, it was our own money that we were committing, and it was our community, the EQRP community. We knew that there are people in that community that I started about a decade ago were really interested in meaningful projects that helped society and had an asymmetric return. So that's ultimately people are able to take, instead of getting stuck in the stock market, they were able to take their 401ks and IRAs, converting those into EQRPs and investing in something that's likely to make them 4 to 5 times their money over about a 5-year period.
That's freaking, I love this. I was on the website earlier, folks. Again, the website is frametech.com. Go check it out. You'll be happy that you did. This is clearly an up-and-coming company, and we have a ton of people since this show was founded down in the Valley. A lot of you listeners there in Arizona, check it out. And I know a friend of mine who's a builder down in Paradise Valley, Scottsdale area. Yeah. Matt, go check this out, bro. Seriously. FrameTechTEC.com. You mentioned something about EQRP. Let's talk about that a little bit. What is for the listeners? What is EQRP? What exactly does that mean, and how does that kind of transfer into like the financial side of things?
So EQRP is an enhanced qualified retirement plan. It's a unique type of self-directed 401k. Okay. So basically people have the ability to control their money. Instead of saying, well, I hope the stock market goes up and stays up when I retire, there's actually money there. It gives people the chance to take their IRAs and old 401ks and control it, have a checkbook, invest. You can't do this with an IRA. It doesn't work. The courts ruled it illegal. You cannot have a checkbook with your IRA. But reality is there are options. And when I created this, it was after a whole lot of brain damage reading the tax code, which for anybody that's ever tried that, it'll either put you to sleep or you'll want to go like put a bullet in your head. Like, it's brutal. That's true. So I got excited for some reason. I thought this is really cool. Like, nobody knows about this. It wasn't mainstream. And so about a decade ago, I started building something, and that turned into the EQRP. And basically it gives people control of their retirement and their future. So instead of a life by default where they're hoping, like smoking hopium, that's their plan, they're literally designing their life. And it gives people the chance to invest in really cool things like private companies like Frametech and private notes and gold and silver and Bitcoin and apartments and really almost anything you want to do. And there's a lot of companies out there that are trying to help people in this space. But what I found is there's a lot of technology and there's not a lot of community. And so what we built that's really special is we built a community of thousands of people that are working with their EQRPs. They share deals. They're literally out there showing each other what they're doing, and they're doing deals together, and they're supporting each other. So what has happened with technology is it's disconnected us, whereas EQRP is bringing people together.
I like that. Let me ask you a question for those that are listening that want to get involved in this. Maybe they're thinking about a retirement plan, or haven't started a retirement plan. Is there a certain age that you would recommend people start if they haven't started already? Is there like an age limit? And is there the second part of that is there a certain amount that people need to start to invest with?
It's like the Chinese proverb, when should you plant a tree? Right. Best time 20 years ago, next best time now. So same deal. And it's with retirement accounts. We have people that have them for their kids, where they have these EQRPs and their kids are like 5 and 6 years old. And we have people that are starting them when they're 70. So there's not a good, it's, if you have no money, but you're like, okay. And the reason I like this, and there's a lot of people, it's funny, like one of my favorite authors of all time has been Robert Kiyosaki, and he craps on 401ks all the time. And he's wrong because he's not understanding the Roth EQRP. That's a tax-free mechanism that you can invest in real estate. There is no way to permanently invest in real estate tax-free. It doesn't work. There's going to be, if you wanted to pull your money out of real estate at some point, you just said, okay, I want to convert it to gold or whatever, I want to spend it, you are going to be taxed. There is a way to be tax-free completely forever with a Roth EQRP. So basically people have the ability to say, okay, I want to go have a side hustle. If they don't have any 401k money from a previous employer, I'm going to have a side hustle. I'm going to be self-employed, whatever. I'm going to drive Uber. If they have 1099 income, they can put that into their EQRP. They can put it in. So it's Roth, which means it grows tax free and you take it out tax free.
Okay.
People have done that. I mean, there's a great example. His name is Peter Thiel. Everybody knows him. He's famous. He co-founded PayPal with Elon. He's worth billions of dollars. He has a Roth retirement account that has over $5 billion in it. Guess who hates him? Elizabeth Warren. And everybody else out there that's a socialist progressive nut job, they literally think that he's the Antichrist. It's because he went out and played the damn game. And guess what? Everybody else has the same rules. They just don't know what they are. So if you use the rules right, you can literally play tax free. You don't need to worry about what Joe Biden or Donald Trump do with the tax code. You just go out there and use the right tool. It's there for tax free living.
I love it. I think oh, let me collect myself here. I think the biggest problem is we've become such a lazy society. And it's like I'm in my mid 40s now, and it's like I'm just learning about like real financial freedom and like diving into the different tax laws and stuff. And I've always joked around I'm a late bloomer, right? And I was like, well, why are the rich rich, and what are they doing, and how are they getting away with all the BS that everybody's complaining about? Oh, I'm gonna start researching what they're doing, and then said what they're doing, because it's clear they're not getting in trouble for it or anything like that, and it seems to be legal. Let me be very clear. It's legal. Let me,
What's crazy is that everybody's bitching and complaining and screaming at each other and fighting over the crumbs. In reality, it doesn't matter whether it's Democrat or Republican. Right. The masses are saying, give me crumbs. I want anything left over. And the rich and the elitists are saying, all right, well, we're just going to have all the money. We're going to shift society into a renter society. So you don't really get anything. You'll have nothing. You'll enjoy it. It'll be great. That's Klaus Schwab from the WEF. Like there's this mentality. And in reality is you can be that. You can be in that space where you own, control, whatever. If you start spending a little time, instead of just watching football and drinking beer every weekend, you might actually spend a few minutes focusing on the rest of your life. These elitists spend time designing their life. And it's like, I love that about our community, because we're constantly giving people intelligence around education. Education is where you have power, but you have to apply it. So I've also seen people go into seminars, they learn a lot, they do nothing. That doesn't matter. Like you have to do something with it. But the reality is most of us are too busy chasing things. And I get it. Like inflation is murdering people. It is so hard to keep up, but you have to start thinking differently. If you just say, okay, I'm going to keep doing the same thing, and then I'm going to ask for a raise to pay for my freaking Chick-fil-A that's now $19, it's not going to get you anywhere. Like you got to figure out how you double your income, not just up it by 5 or 10% when inflation is driving at 15 or 20. You got to figure out how to double it. You got to triple it. You got to 10x it. And there are ways to do that if you take ownership and responsibility. But we are a victim society, and we're trained to do that by these a-holes that tell us that, you know what, you are a victim. No, you're not. Pick yourself up and go make your life happen.
Which clearly you have done with all the multiple companies that you have grown throughout the last 25 plus years, and have been very successful at it.
Mostly I've been unsuccessful, and that's the key. I've been hammered more times. I've lost everything at least three times. And in the beginning, I remember somebody saying, well, because I was asking somebody about lending me money for buying houses, and he said, how many times have you gone bankrupt? And I'm like 22. And he goes, I go, none. I'm like, that's stupid. Why would I do that? He's like, well, after you've gone bankrupt a couple of times, call me. No idea who the guy was. It was in 2000. And what I realized is that you have to go through things. You have to go and stumble and trip. And what people are afraid of is making mistakes. They're afraid of the judgment. We've been trained since childhood, that if you make a mistake, you're a failure. You're going to be thrown out of society. You're going to be put into the wild. The lions are going to eat you. Like that is what we think. Primarily, we are like, oh, I will die if I make a mistake. So we want to get A's and B's. If we get C's, we're average. If we get D's, we're about to get thrown out. And here's the funny thing. In reality, if you get 50% right, you're a freaking billionaire or a Hall of Famer. And in school, they tell us if you get 50% right, you are lame and you're terrible and get out of here. So we've got to shift this. Out of those 70 companies, more than half of those things didn't make any money. They lost money. What they did is they gave me lessons. It wasn't winning and losing in these companies. It was winning and learning. A lot of those were learning. And so I poured money into them. I ended up homeless after 2008, lost $25 million when I only had 20. So you can imagine that creates a problem. And ultimately what I learned is that if you just keep going, then you're going to eventually win. So that's where we are today.
Is it safe to say that you have a very strong mindset? Like you lost the fear of failure a long time ago.
I lost so what I did is I embraced. So I was listening to Joe Rogan talk about cold plunges. I've got a cold plunge. I'm literally sitting in a room. I can see my cold plunge, and it makes me go, oh God, because it is painful. It's not fun to go in a cold plunge.
No.
Like you literally step into this ice bath. And he said, I do the thing that hurts the most the first thing, and everything else is easier that day. And so when you start to embrace the suck, as Jocko talks about in his book, like embrace the suck. This is what SEALs do. Like you go do the freaking hard thing, and then everything else is really relatively easy. What most people are so afraid of is the pain. They go, "Oh, it's gonna hurt." No, man, it's your feelings that you're getting hurt, and then all of a sudden, that's the most important thing. I mean, give me a break. I've gone through all these things, and what I realize is there are all these gifts that are wrapped up in pain. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do the thing, and I make decisions fast. It scares the shit out of people, and they go, "Oh man, what's gonna happen? Like it might go wrong." I'm like, "No, what's gonna happen is either it'll work or I'm gonna learn something and I'm gonna leverage it." And so that's the benefit of going out there. Ultimately, am I afraid of things? I don't have time. Like I'm so busy building things and so busy doing things. When something doesn't work, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I move on to the next thing. I fix it.
Right.
So I don't get wound up. A lot of people get stuck in their messes or their mistakes, and then they stay there. They literally are rehashing the past over and over, and that becomes their future. I'm like, I'm learning from it. I have a log of lessons learned. When I blow something up, I'm like, okay, that's what I learned there. So let's leverage. The reason that I've written so many books is because I wanted to clarify my thinking around all the dumb things I've done. So I said, if I'm not going to repeat the same things, I need to write a book about it. And then I get real clear. Wow, that was dumb. And then I write the book and I go, here's the playbook for the next thing. What's really funny, Adam, is I'll have people go, hey man, you wrote about this thing in Unicornomics and you're doing something different. I'm like, you're right. Damn it. So like people call me out on my own thinking because my thinking is in writing. And so I can't cheat. Like it's a very powerful way to keep yourself on track. And so it's my system. It's like, that's what I do. And I don't know if it's a good system or a bad system, but here we are. Frametec is worth $500 million after 2 years. So I think something's working.
Jesus. I'd say that's putting it mildly too. Frametec, it's frametec.com. You have something called turnkeyretirement.com too. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this a lot because there's a lot of little pieces to stuff. There's either Fidelity or Schwab, and they say, "Hey, we have all the resources. Just go read a billion things here, and that'll be plenty." Like our FAQs are going to create freedom. No, they're not. They're going to make you think you're dumb, and so there's that. And then you have people that say, "Just give me your money, and I'll create your retirement." And then the idea for me is that you've got to train people through them doing things, and then you got to bring them together in a community. So turnkey retirement is really about that. There's a process. Like you've got to go through a process of building capital and then converting that capital into cash flow. A lot of times what people do is they say, I need cash flow. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, because you have to feed yourself every month. But they try to go right from zero to hero through cash flow, and it doesn't work. Like you really, that system simply doesn't work. Everybody's trying to hack it. I think they read Tim Ferriss's book, which I loved, The 4 Hour Work Week. But you can't 4 hour work week yourself to financial freedom in 12 months when you start at zero. It doesn't work.
Right.
The key to this whole process is work. But I know work is like a 4-letter word. Everybody's like, oh God, work. I don't want to do that.
Jesus.
So, I mean, that's turnkey retirement gives you that process. It's this whole process of going from wherever you are to building the capital base and then converting the capital base. And it's not just about deals. It's about you converting you. Like you've got to become that guy. Why am I sitting here helping and being a part of a $500 million company that within 24 months will be a unicorn, $1 billion company? Why? Because I went through all the things, made the money, lost the money, and I kept building myself. This took 25 years. And you know what? Nobody wants to spend 25 minutes. They're like, oh man, just tell me the answer. And that's not how it works. And I wish there was a way to do it, but I kind of don't, because if there was a cheat, it's like everybody wants to win the lottery ticket. People literally tell me, well, I'm just going to keep buying lottery tickets because that's all I got left. Or they go, I'm going to buy a meme altcoin, and that's the only thing I got left. And that's sad. But the reality is, if you do the work, it's kind of like taking steroids. If you just take steroids and don't go to the gym, there are consequences. You might get some muscle, just like you might win if you make an investment, it happens to hit. But the reality is it's probably going to kill you. You're going to end up having a heart attack. And the same thing with investments. You're probably going to lose your money unless you evolve and transform yourself. So turnkey retirement is building you through that process to a place where you are financially free. And it's a process. And most people don't want to do it. The people that do want to do it, it is a system that works.
That is turnkeyretirement.com. Listen, guys, if you're listening to the show right now, it means you're already on the internet. Just open up another browser, open up another 2 browsers, and go check out the turnkeyretirement.com. I know there's a lot of you've reached out several times if asked, hey, what should I do investment wise? I'm not the person to ask when it comes to like invest. This guy is turnkey retirement. He's built an entire community. Let me ask you something real quick on the community side of it. How many people now in the community?
There's almost 3,000 people in the community.
And it's just they come together, share information. So
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
like a support group that helps you make decisions before you make one.
yeah. So the idea there is just like you said, when somebody says, well, what do I invest in? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know who you are, where you are, what you're doing. We have something that I built called the MAP, the Millionaire Action Plan. And it's really figuring out holistically. It's not to say you should do this. It's to say, here's where you are, here's where you want to be, and here's what it's going to take. And then you have to go do the work. Like nobody's going to do it. We're not going to do it for you. Financial advisors that are selling stocks and life insurance are going to have a thing to sell you. That's their plan.
Yeah.
My plan for somebody, our company's plan for somebody, is to give them clarity on what they have to go do and then guide them and help them avoid the speed bumps and then bring the community together. So it's perfect for people that say, you know what, I'm going to love my money. I'm going to trust myself more than other people. And then I want to do this with other people. It won't work for people that are going to say, I'm going to do everything by myself. Like that's a dumb plan anyway. I had that plan for years and it was exhausting and hard and really kind of insane because that's, when you're one man band, you're your own lawyer, you're your own accountant, you read tax code. I promise that is not a good strategy. And really smart people tend to do that. They say, oh yeah, I'm smart enough to know all this stuff. And I'm like, you don't have enough life to know all that stuff.
Right. That's, I just find it very intriguing. I'm going to definitely check it out. I have not checked out the turnkey retirement or the community stuff. And I think one thing that I want to kind of key in on is that you said you're giving people the keys, but you have to do the work yourself. It's not just going to fall in your lap. Go do the work. And here's the other thing. I mean, when you think about life anyway, things that are worth having are worth working for it. Am I
That's
wrong?
fact.
Am I wrong?
No, I mean the truth is there's a sense of satisfaction around going and building something, whether you're building your body, whether you're building a relationship, whether you're building a company. If somebody just hands it to you and you don't do the work, there's really no value in that. It's like people that say, well, I had a hard life, I'm going to give my kids everything. I just fundamentally don't agree that that's a good plan because like my parents told me no, and it was like, all right, fine, I'll go figure it out. I think we all have the ability to go figure things out. We're humans and we've got a frontal lobe. Like we can plan. We're not just animals that think about the moment that we're in. Sometimes we probably should, but the thinking is what is lost.
Yeah.
People don't think anymore. They just want to have somebody think for them. And it's unfortunate, but the truth is we all have the capacity to do it. I mean, and there's always the edge cases, but most people that are listening or watching or thinking right now are not the edge cases. If they don't have something, I mean, our life is a reflection of the choices, behaviors, habits, and rhythms that we've had for the last 10, 20, 50 years. Yeah. And so if you say, I don't like my life sucks. Well, it's your own damn fault. You did it. It was your freaking choices. And if you want something different, you can make different choices. So that's not an attack. That's a clarity of reality. Yeah. You have to make different choices if you want a different life. If you keep making the same choices and go, I don't like my life, but I'm going to keep doing the thing Monday through Friday and then get fucked up on the weekends, you're going to have the same effed up life the next 20 years. And that comes down to a choice. It's really a choice.
Oh, I freaking love this. Somebody get some water. This guy's on fire right now. This is great. Jesus. Damion, what do you consider the most common mistakes or misconceptions people make when they get into private investing?
People buy a story and speed kills. They try to do things too fast. I mean, that's the most people do. They do things too fast without spending any time doing any homework. And the other one is the opposite side of that. They get so nervous about making a mistake, they don't do anything, and they let a financial advisor tell them, "Oh, don't do anything except give me your money." So they don't, like they literally opt out of everything. So there's a healthy balance where you say, "Okay, I'm going to take a calculated risk. I'm not going to put everything I have into the thing that I can't control. I'm going to put something here, and you're going to do it." And there's the idea with teams and operators is they mitigate risks. They're not going to eliminate risks. When people say, well, what can go wrong? Let me tell you from experience, everything can go wrong. And what you're trusting people to go and figure out how to fix the things that go wrong.
Right.
When you have world-class teams, the things that go wrong generally are fixable. Now, you've got things like 2008, when you have a black swan event, there's things that can happen where no human can actually fix it. But then you're asking yourself, okay, well, am I investing or am I looking for a guaranteed treasury? And the reality is there's risks in investing. So I think people have to be in reality, and there's a gentle balance between those two things. You got to find yourself, you got to find your way into the middle of that, where you're willing to do some work and you're also willing to take risks. And risks, when people invest and something goes wrong, like interest rates go up by double, that is a thing that nobody was thinking about or planning. And there are consequences to that. That has hurt a lot of people in the investing space the last couple of years. And that's nobody's fault. Like, just nobody planned for it, even very, very successful people. So
Right.
I think you just have to be realistic, and then stop thinking about who you're going to sue when something goes wrong. Like, just suck it up, put your freaking pants on, and go figure something else out and go do something instead of saying, I'm going to sue my way back into wealth. That's just a sissy ass move. And I get tired of people going, well, I was wronged. Man, this is the real world. Everybody's wronged. Like, just get over it.
Nobody put a gun to your head. You made the decision to do it.
That's exactly right.
Damion, we're coming up on time. I got another question for you. You're on a show called The Decision Hour. We make decisions every single day. Name a time in your life where your feet are on the line and you have to make that decision. What is it, and what's the atmosphere like at that time?
So I remember when I was in the early stages of building EQRP, and it wasn't going well. It just wasn't going as fast as possible, and we ran out of money, and everybody around me said, just move on, let it go find something else to do. And I remember I sat with that for a number of weeks, and I sat and I thought, everybody thinks that I should walk away, but I feel beholden. Like these people trusted me to help them, and it was only 134 people. I was like, well, you know what, I can walk away and do what everybody else does, or I can keep grinding. And so I buried myself in debt. I was negative net worth. This was about six years ago. And I said, I'm not giving up on these people, and I'm not giving up on this dream to disrupt the Wall Street system. I rebooted and started and kept going and did it by myself. So for a year, I was all by myself, grinding, flying around. And it was that moment that changed everything. I think God was testing me right then. He's like, all right, are you really serious about this? Everybody's abandoning you. You're going to be by yourself. And I said, I'm going for it. And I looked like a crazy person. And now everybody's like, oh yeah, let's be a part of this. Let's do this. Well, freaking A, it's easy now. Like, there's a whole thing that's happened back. It's hard. You have to be willing to go alone and when things look crazy or they don't make sense. And sometimes you have to trust your gut and do the crazy thing. Sometimes you need to walk away. But I think it's very easy to walk away, and that's where most people are. And they don't realize oftentimes you're at the 1 yard line and you walk away just because it looks hard, because you got a defensive line that's staring at you. And you're like, no, that's too hard. That's going to hurt. Yeah. And so we turn around and run the other way.
That's great advice. Dan, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Folks, listen, that's all the time we got. But before we let you go, he's got a special audience giveaway. Turnkey Retirement. Go to turnkeyretirement.com. We'll have that. We'll have all of his social media contact in the show notes below. And don't forget, before we let you go, make sure you check out our parent company, Heroes Media Group. Go check out all the podcast shows over there supporting our community heroes. Until next time, you've been listening to The Decision Hour.